Let's see. We are back live. Hopefully, the audio issues are behind us now.
On the rock right now.
There we go. I can hear JB. I can hear myself. Courtney.
Oh,
There we go.
Let's get it.
I can hear myself. Courtney. There we go. We're good.
okay. So
I need the new link.
we're live already, guy. Tell people to go to our YouTube channel.
Go to the YouTube
It's the same-
channel.
it's the same link.
Yeah. YouTube.com/get in here.
Note to self: don't try to be too fancy. You guys start putting all the fancy settings in, and things start not going well, yo.
I'm a simpler man.
Sometimes that's the way to go, bro. Sometimes.
Well,
that's
yo,
the way
let
to
me
go.
know when you're ready for me to drop a nugget on
Listen,
somebody's
we've missed-
head top.
We've missed you, bro. We've missed you. Last week, like
Real
me
talk.
and JV were going in, but we're like, yo, we're missing that, like, that real beat, that real gutter.
That,
That real, You know that when you go to that one class that you remember through your 12 weeks of going to school, that one class you're like, oh, this class I learned the most. The
yeah.
one class
And you
that-
got like that weird science teacher. That's Courtney.
Yeah, he's the man. He's supposed to be teaching us molecular biology, but he said scrap that. Y'all ain't using that in the future.
Yo,
And he
listen,
starts spitting big
I
stuff.
always used to tell people when I was at in college, I always used to tell people I was in aviation robotics or micro and nano biotechnologies. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? I have no idea. But that was my go-to. Yeah, aviation robotics. Anyways, yo, enough with the tomfoolery. Listen, let's talk about this bloody market. Yo,
Have
okay.
you guys seen that episode of Game of Thrones where everybody
Yeah.
just dies? The Red Wedding? That's
season
what's going on.
season
right
2, episode 10 or something
now.
like
Sorry,
that.
that's a spoiler alert if you haven't seen Game of Thrones.
Man, that's
but
8 years old. You better watch it by now. But here's what the Red Wedding is all about. Look at the 7-day numbers: 18 down, 15 down, 17 down, 23. The numbers just get bigger. 25% for Avalanche, 20% for Terra USD, which is a stable coin, which is out of this world to think about.
Look at
Mirror
Terra.
protocol Terra down 81% to $14.
God.
$14. It was $110 over a week ago.
Yo.
Crow down 21, Litecoin 20%, 25% range, 25% range for almost every cryptocurrency. ApeCoin down almost 40%.
Is there
I feel
any
sorry for
random
people
coin that's just
up.
like up crazy, like stupid for no reason?
I mean, Flow is up 10% in the last 24 hours because
They
there was an
did just
announcement
announce
that they're going to get some funding. But that doesn't erase the 15% that they went down, because to make up for a 15% loss, you have to have greater than a 15% gain. More or less, just look across here.
Horrible.
More or less everything is down double digits.
I don't think I've ever scrolled this past and like this far down and like
Yeah.
I feel sick
Yeah.
now. Like,
Yeah.
you
So
going down, I feel sick.
So here's a an idea or a concept, right? I heard on a podcast today, somebody said it great. There's two phrases that people got to understand. One is there's only one trade. It's all the same trade, basically, right? And so that says that pretty much to invest in one cryptocurrency is similar to investing in any cryptocurrency. Now, obviously, you're going to have alpha between one and the other if the market is moving in a different way and sentiment is different. But when sentiment is this bad, meaning the mood of the general market and the macro landscape, meaning like interest rates and inflation and all that kind of stuff, and war and politics and equity markets, debt markets, when like all that stuff, politics, when it's all ugly, like how it is right now, there's one trade. And so whatever happens to Bitcoin happens to everything times a little bit. So when you think about like the S&P 500, or you think about SPY or like whatever the big index is that you would have invested in if you want to be like a cautious investor. They call that like the benchmark, right? And so if you were to measure every other asset off of the benchmark, you're basically, the only reason why you would pick anything other than just the benchmark is because you think that you could get an outsized return, right? But those outsized returns from deviating from just getting the overall return of the market, they work in both directions. So that's why you see Bitcoin is like about 18% down, but then you see other stuff that's like more or less down around that 18 number. Most things are down more because they're more reflexive, meaning when they go up faster, but when they go down faster. You feel me? So that's the first thing you got to know. There's really one trade right now, or it's all the same trade in crypto. So make sure you understand what it is that you're in. Don't go online for somebody to tell you how to put your future to work. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, this is our time that we're putting in the market. And I'm not saying like your time is like the time you invest to study. I mean, literally, how do you get money? How do you get money?
Gotta trade that time in.
You gotta trade that time. You go somewhere and you mine fiat. You clock in, you punch in, you dedicate whatever life source that you have, that 24 hours that we all have, you're committing a portion of that in exchange for that check. So ultimately, what you're looking at decay on that chart there or that table is a bunch of people's time that they invested. So like be cautious with how you're investing your time. You feel me? Like once you have a conviction about something, invest in a size and an amount where you're going to be able to sleep at night, because there's a lot of cope going around, like people who made bad decisions and they're just telling themselves it will be all right, versus people who made smart decisions and they're looking at these opportunities to continue to build on, things that they got in for the right reason. So this is a very large preamble, but like, I know we usually go NFTs, we talk about like play to earn gaming, but it's hard to not talk about this right now because,
It affects everything.
Yeah, it affects everything, and it's not just people in crypto, but people who are in equities too. Like a lot of the crypto stocks are down. Matter of fact, I was looking at the NASDAQ website, or was it Business Insider? There are 717 stocks that are trading at or near their 52-week low as of the close of the market today. 717 stocks at or near their 52-week low. Guess how many stocks are trading at or near their 52-week high? 7.
That's wild.
There's 100 times more stocks that are at their low, not down 50%, down to their lowest they've been in a year, fam. So that the second phrase that I was going to tell y'all about is you can't fight the Fed. You can't fight the Fed, meaning that when the central banks get together and say, look, we gotta take a strategy to control these markets a little bit. When they make a decision that is a strong decision, fam, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. And because inflation has been running crazy, the cost of living has been skyrocketing. We've been seeing it in gas prices, we've been seeing it in grocery prices, we've been seeing it in everything. The cost of living has been going up. Inflation is, been in every headline that you've seen on the news. The Fed is saying, okay, we have to do something to reel this in. And so last week, what they did was they increased interest rates by 0.5%. And they usually go by hundredths of a percent. They call them basis points. So they raise it by 50 basis points, which is 0.5%. That's the largest hike that they had since, I believe, 2006. And they intend to have 2 more 50-point hikes later in the year. And so people are already seeing them doing this, but they're anticipating doing it more. And so everybody in the market's like, yo, fam, first of all these risky assets are looking less attractive. And they're already bleeding, and they're going to bleed further because the Fed is about to tighten up the amount of money that's in supply. We might as well sell this stuff while we still have a chance. And so I know I'm about to go on a tear. You're probably like, I thought you went on a tear. No,
We know this is the pre-tear.
Just start. Hey, listen, drop a like on the video,
please.
My man's about to drop some knowledge. When a man
Please.
starts doing this, he's about to black out. He brought a slide.
Please
My man pulled out
listen.
a slide.
Listen, I
Hold
have a
on.
small deck. A
Hold
small
on, hold
deck.
on, hold on.
Don't.
Let me get the faces a little bit bigger because we gotta be able to see your facial expressions out here when you
Yeah,
black
don't
out.
misunderstand, right? There's a few slides here in this. I want to tell you why markets crash. And I'm not going to talk about theoretically, like I'm not going to talk about macro. I'm not going to talk about any of that kind of stuff. I'm literally just going to tell you the basic reason why markets crash. And I guess this could also be why do the price of assets go down? Okay. So ultimately, on every trade, some people say like it's because there's more sellers than buyers. No, there's always one buyer and there's always one seller, more or less, right? But there has to be a buyer for every seller. Like you can't sell to nobody. There has to be somebody to take that on the other side. It's a difference in the level of conviction of the two. So when prices are dropping, that means that it's an indication that the sellers have more conviction than the buyers, right? Like the sellers want to get rid of what they hold more than people want to acquire it. So they're willing to drop the price down lower. What do I mean? So look at it like this. There's bids, which are buyers. You could think of going to an auction, right? You go to an auction, you place a bid on something that you want. Or if you're at the car dealership, you see the offers of what they're selling, what they're offering these cars for, right? This is like the sticker price. And this is how much you're willing to pay, the bid. So when the bid and the offer match up, there's a transaction. So if I'm willing to pay 110 and they're offering the item for 110, there will be a transaction. Same thing. If I want to pay 100 and they're selling it for 100, there will be a transaction. But obviously, we know that this isn't always the case, right? So if I'm willing to pay, for example, 100 and they're selling it for 110, this difference here, we call it the spread. Okay. Now, this might get a little bit technical, but I need you to stay with me. Right here, this is a $10 spread. The best place that I can illustrate what this really means is if I go here and I show you on an NFT. Okay. This is World of Women. This is an NFT, very popular NFT collection. Right here, you see this is listed for 5.5 ETH. That's the current price, right? 5.5 ETH. That's the sticker price. If I scroll down, I can see the offers that other people have on this. Now, it's backwards to what I said because I told you offer is what people are selling it for. The terminology here is flipped. So this is what people are offering to buy this for. So these are technically the bid prices. And this is the asking price, or on the other slide, what I told you was offer, right? This is the sticker price, 5.5. This is how much people are willing to pay, 5. So there's an half an ETH spread on the highest somebody's willing to pay and the lowest they're willing to sell at. So here's how prices change. If I'll go back here, if this offer price or the selling price, I'll change this so that we're not confusing. If the selling price, if they want to get rid of it really bad, like say they got bills coming up, right? And they need to get that money. If this has more pressure, then they're more likely to drop this price down, right? And then the transaction will go through. Oh, that was the wrong one. If there's more pressure here, the price will go down and they'll buy it for the lower price, right? Because they're trying to sell it as fast as possible. But if, say, the market is going up and they have all the confidence in the world that, you know, one day eventually this will be worth $200, why would they sell it for anything less than 120 when they know one day soon it'll be worth more than that? So when the market is hot, people are like, well, shoot, I don't want to lose the opportunity to buy this, so I'll pay more now. And that spread closes and then the transaction goes through, right? Does that make sense, what I'm saying? You following me?
Yeah.
As best as possible.
Bet. So more or less, either the person who wants to buy it has to want to buy it more, or the person who wants to sell it wants to have to sell it more. But at the end of the day, it's really of who has more conviction. The people who are trying to get rid of the assets, like the people who people who had the Bitcoin, are they like thinking that the world is coming to an end and they got to sell their Bitcoin now because the price is going to the floor and this is the last chance they're going to have to sell it for 35K before it goes to zero? Okay, then they're going to want to sell it. Or maybe, maybe they borrowed it and is like, yo, they got to pay the interest and they don't have the interest because the interest rates are going up. They got to sell it. You know what I'm saying? That's pressure to sell. So they're going to lower the amount that they're willing to accept for it. Whereas if we're in a bull market and everything is rosy and everything's going to the sky, they're not going to want to sell because they think the price is going to go up forever. So the buyers are going to be the ones who are feeling the FOMO and they're going to be like, yo, I want to pay 100, but if I don't pay 100 now, I might have to pay 150 tomorrow. So I'll pay 110. You see what I'm saying? The only reason prices go down is because the people who are selling are more passionate to sell than the people who are buying. You feel me? No, it's no more complicated than that. Everything else is like a storyline. And so what we see in today is that the general sentiment is that there's a large number of people who are really passionate about selling right now. And now you can debate the reasons why. You could debate 100 reasons why. But at the end of the day, the most simple way of explaining it is that there's way more people who are feeling like anxiety about holding on to these. And they're like, I got to sell this. This might be the last chance I could sell this for this much. Tomorrow, I think it's going to be worth less money. So let me sell it here before it goes to zero. That's why markets crash. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Well, so now if you've done your homework, you know what I'm saying? You can look at it and you can take the other side of that bet and you can say, well, I know people mentally, they're borrowing their conviction from YouTube or something like that. They're listening to me and they're trying to make their decisions on what they should do. And so if you are studied up and you have an idea of what something will be worth down the road and you think right now it's at a discount, then you scoop those up. You know what I'm saying? You take advantage of the psychology of the market because all humans are prone to the same things, right? We're all emotional. Money is emotional. And when you see those numbers turn red, see, like, I don't even like, if I use charts, let me pull up a chart for you just so I can illustrate. And then I swear I'll give up the mic because I've been going hard in the paint.
I actually have a question for you that goes with this. Like when we're in a bear,
yeah,
and say you may not be as educated and you can always go do your own research and read articles as to why these things are happening, but you hear everybody saying like, oh, I think Bitcoin's going to touch this price or whatever. When things are going down like this, how do you know, like, what gives you an indication of now is the time to possibly jump in and catch this wave on the way back up?
Hey, yo, look, I'm gonna give you this game right here. You can see my screen still?
Yeah.
Sure.
So, yo, there's this website. It's called Visual Capitalist. It has this chart. This chart is from 2021. And it shows every time. And since then, it's dropped multiple times. But it shows every time that Bitcoin has dropped from by over 30% since its inception. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And that was only up until around this time a year ago. And so it's had, I believe, 2 or 3 more drops of like 30+% since then. It's dropped 25% since the beginning of the year. So looking at the asset that you're talking about, you first have to understand, like, what is the timeline that I'm looking at for this? If I look at this chart, which is a Bitcoin chart on a 1 year, it's pretty much flat. You feel me? Like it's got some peaks and valleys to it, but it's pretty much flat over the course of a year.
Yeah.
But are you planning on holding this investment for 1 year? That's the question you have to ask yourself. If not, then you have to start extending that time frame and start looking at it over a longer time frame, because assets behave differently when they have a longer time to mature in your portfolio. And so this is the reason why a lot of people suck at trading and it's easier to be good at investing, is because in investing, what happens on any one of these single days is irrelevant, because the general trend, like a 5-year-old could read this chart. Is this chart going up into the right or is it going down into the right? It's going up. But it's because you got to look at the bottom here. These are measured in years. So when you start zooming in and measuring it in months or measuring it in days, then it becomes hard to decipher like what's really happening here. And so you really have to look at your time horizon. Okay. And back to my last point when I was saying like the bid and the ask or the bid and the offer, when you see the price listed of an asset, right here, you can see it's called the last price. The reason why it's called the last price and the reason why it's always changing is because that's the last trade that went through. So the very last time that somebody bought this asset, that was a price that they agreed on. That's when the bid and the ask crossed over. And then it happens again. Every second, there's another trade going through. And that's why the last price is adjusting. So the price that's quoted, it often it's only a number that is going to be there for a second because more people are active trading. And if there's less people trading, that means there's less bids and less offers. And so the spreads are going to be higher. And so the prices are going to move even faster. So that's why when you have like those cryptocurrencies that are far down on the chart, they might be like the 110th cryptocurrency. They only have like a $1 billion market cap and their trading volume every day might be $100,000 compared to like Bitcoin that's trading billions of dollars of volume every day. That means that there's like 10 to 100 times less offers and bids, meaning that the bids and offers could be farther apart so that the last price could be jumping all over the price, meaning that that price of that asset is going to be way more volatile because there's less people involved. You see what I'm saying? Whereas if there's every person in the world is buying Bitcoin, then you can be sure that if you put in an offer, there's probably going to be someone there to scoop it up. So like, when do you know when to get in? The question is more so, how long are you trying to stay in? That's the way you should be asking yourself, you know? And if you're thinking about it very long term, the question isn't when to get in. The question is, how much do you think this is worth? What is the terminal value? What is the value of this when I'm going to need it? If it's for retirement 20, 30, 40 years from now, what's the value of the asset then compared to now? Not last month, because it's not a loss until you cash out. You feel me? So like, what's it worth when you're going to need it? Track that back to today. If you think that it has an opportunity to 10x over 10 years, then $100 asset today is actually worth $1,000. And if it's trading at under $1,000, it may be worth allocating. Do you put 100% of your money in it? No, because we're never, ever going to be guaranteed to be right. But you got to look at present value versus terminal value. And that's how you decide what should I do?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't even talk about like how much of the asset do you own? Because I feel like it's easy to look at like, okay, like last year I put $1,000 in on Bitcoin. I bought at the all-time high because my grandma told me to buy in, and
Oh,
now
grandma put you on Bitcoin?
grandma put me on the Bitcoin, fam.
Hey, word.
She's plugged into the DGen network, yo. I'm pretty sure she's in New School DGen Discord. So, if you want to talk to Granny, she
Shout
joined the
out
Discord,
Granny.
yo.
She's a
Salute.
G. Drop a like for Granny.
Real talk, real talk. So I just feel like when you put in, let's say you put $1,000, let's say you bought it at the all-time high, I think, and in Canadian dollars, it was trading at like 70K, 80K or whatever. And now it's like half of that. It's like trading less than 40K in Canadian dollars. I think that this probably is a good time if you're thinking long term to actually like look at how much of the like, if let's say it's BTC, how much BTC do you actually have? Because like I know there's a concept that I can't remember who was talking about it, but he was saying like averaging down, like averaging your costs down. So if you were buying at an all-time high, like this is a good time to average down. So instead of having like average buy price at like 70K, you can bring that down to 50K or halfway in between. And I feel like the same thing applies in like stocks, right? Could you jump into that a little bit more, Courtney?
Absolutely. And I mean, that's just when you look at the averaging down is related to when you look at your portfolio and it shows the total value of what you have. You might have bought it at many different times. That's just all of those prices combined and averaged. And if you're buying below that average, then you're basically over time reducing what the basis that you're starting at is. That's what you're saying. So it's an important thing and it's a great thing to do. if it's an asset that you believe in. Like I said, you got to always reassess. Like you might one day look and be like, I no longer believe in this because of XYZ reason. And that's like a mature thing to do. You know what I'm saying? To like not think about the sunk cost of how much time and money you've already had into something. And if it went down already, looking at it as if this was day one and this was fresh capital. Do I still believe in this? If the answer is yes, then yeah, you can average down. But here's another concept that I'm going to kind of put out there. If you had $1,000 and $1,000 5x, does it change your life? No. Right. If you had $100,000 and it 5x, could that potentially change your quality of life, at least for a while? I'd argue, yeah. It could. So here's my thing. In the beginning of your investing career, meaning the first few years, like the first decade, or probably up to you reach a point where like you have more than a year's worth of earnings in your investments, right? Obviously, you don't want to just swing for the fences on every single thing you do, but the amount of contributions you make is more important than the timing of those contributions early on. Because if you make 50K a year, for example, and you invest $1,000 and it goes to zero, like that's like it hurts, but that's 2% of your net worth or 2% of what you're going to make in a year. You know what I'm saying? So you can make that back again. But if you add that to make a grand, invest 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 a grand, eventually you'll have 10 grand. And then the 10 grand could represent 20% of what you make in a year. And then if that 5x is, then you can have a whole year's worth of money. So early on, don't focus on timing as much as you focus on the contributions you make. Obviously, the first step is don't pick stupid things to put your money in. If you buy 100% of your investing is in JPEGs, and there's no buyer on the other end of those because those are very illiquid markets, and there's only 10,000 people who care about your stupid ass penguin anyway, then I'm sorry. That was your mistake. You should have only put a smaller amount of money in that if that was all the money that you had.
JB looks triggered right now.
I'm sorry,
man, because that stuff's going crazy right now in the NFT space.
Right, but that's why you gotta, to Jimmy's point, like you gotta put in an amount that it's there for a purpose, right? You don't put your 100% of your money in something that potentially you couldn't get out. But I do think that early on, instead of focusing on the exact precise timing, just dollar cost average, get in there, average down, buy in a regular, and make the contributions. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be perfect because you could 10x on $1,000 and you're still working. You're still waking up on Monday and going to work. You know what I'm saying? If you 10x on 100 grand, that's a whole different story because
YouTube channel.
You feel me?
Nice to me.
You feel me? Then you have flexibility. You have options. You could buy yourself 8 months where you don't have to go into work to get something up off the ground. So like work on those contributions more than the timing.
Yeah, no, that's some facts. And also like if you're investing in a coin, if you're investing in a stock, if you're investing in a JPEG and you think that the price is going to keep going up, and not expect to go through times like what we're going through now. Granted, things have dropped a lot and, we've seen it kind of go up and down, up and down. We haven't seen it go down like this in a while, but like that comes with the game. You know what I mean? Like you're in it. Like if things kept going up, that would be so unrealistic. So we just gotta, ride that wave. And, Courtney talks about conviction a lot. If you have the conviction, these things shouldn't really worry you unless you have Luna.
Lee, uppercut.
I'm gonna be honest. I had some Luna, but you know why I can laugh? Is because it wasn't my whole entire life savings. You feel me? I wasn't leveraged long to the point where if it dropped by a certain amount, they were going to margin call me and take my collateral, right? And definitely not telling anybody how to invest their money, but I look at it like this. I have like a retirement plan from my employer that's a certain set of money that's over here, and it's like invested uber conservatively, right? Then I have like a tax-free savings account that's invested in like equities markets, in like index ETFs, relatively conservatively, you know what I'm saying? And then I have what I have in crypto, which is relative to those other ones. It's like it's not it's not the same size. I'll just put it like that. You know what I'm saying? And then inside that crypto one, there was a little bit of Luna relative. I say a little bit, like to somebody it might be more, to myself relative to everything that I own in my entire life. If it went to zero, which it didn't, it was close. I got out before it went to 14 damn dollars. That's sad. 88 down 81% on the week.
Like
But
that, bro. Like it's
yeah,
crazy
right.
how
But
fast it happened.
exactly. But I say that to say, like, yo, position size matters, meaning the amount you invest in each asset matters. You know what I mean? It's not enough to just be very like have your heart all set in it, because people have their heart set in everything, and we only remember the people who are right, where they're like, yeah, I knew Bitcoin was going to $100,000 from 2013. And it's like, yes, and there's also people who knew that freaking, you know, Shiba Inu was going to $1 by 2021. So like those people both had the same level of conviction, but one of them was proven right and one of them was proven wrong. You know what I'm saying? So at a certain point, like take your foot off the gas a little bit and just give yourself a little bit of room to be wrong.
Yeah.
I think this is a perfect time. Like you said, take your foot off the gas. This is the perfect time to actually like take in the scenery. Like go and like actually look at the projects that you invested in and like research what's going on. Like, are they developing? Are some of the teams actually coming up with new projects? Because I feel like right now, like, yeah, you could get stuck and you could look at the price and your emotions are gonna go down with the price right now. So how do you feel? How do you make yourself feel better? Look at the technology. Look at what probably got you excited about the market in the first place. Like I remember before I even bought Bitcoin, actually no, I bought Bitcoin a while ago, but before I learned about Bitcoin, bro, I was like, when I started jumping into it, I started getting super excited. It made no sense why I didn't buy more. And so right now is that time. I feel like if you're kind of new to it, like I am, like I'm pretty new to it, while things are kind of like dying down, a lot of the influencers aren't,
Influencing.
influencing. You know what I'm saying? YouTube is not showing me 10x 20x videos every week. Like this is the time to listen to a podcast like First Class Podcast where we're sharing the real. This is the time to listen to Bankless who got their YouTube channel back because they're sharing the real. Like this is the time to start looking at the actual industry from a technology standpoint and a knowledge standpoint, and stop waiting for a number go up. Because like if you're with like the new school degen mindset, we're here for the long run. Like people are building on platforms, people are we're talking about things that are actually going to make not only like political impacts but economic impacts in markets that some of us have never even been to. Like these are world changing things. So I feel like this is a perfect time. If you haven't read the Bitcoin Standard, go read that. Like get yourself pumped up, because like every market, like we all know crypto's here to stay. Like we know Bitcoin, at least Ethereum, are here to stay. So like it's gonna bounce back. This is your time to like build up that conviction and start doing more research. In my personal opinion, that's what I would be doing to get myself more excited.
I love that you said that, but your conviction. Remember, you said that I gave you an orange pill, but like you took it. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't force it in your brain. You took it. You did what you wanted with it. And my man Will Clemente said volatility is the price action of an asset, up and down, wide spreads and just going crazy, up down, right? That's volatility. Volatility is just a mechanism for transferring wealth from weak hands to strong hands. And so how do you develop those stronger hands? It's emotional, it's mental, and that comes from understanding the underlying and being able to recognize and see deviations in the human behavior. Like people are starting to, right now, they're reading headlines instead of reading books. They're listening to the TV instead of listening to the research that they did. You know what I'm saying? And if that's the thing that's going to drive what your decision making process is, if short term is going to drive your decision making process, then long term people are going, like, don't feed the whales. What do you think the whales are doing? They're sitting back catching all they got bids set like way at the bottom of the price range, and they're just waiting for people to sell into those bids, and they're catching all those
Going
discounted
shopping right
assets.
now.
Exactly, fam. So don't buy some garbage right now. Value is on discount. The things that will endure are on discount because they are not as sexy, but they have real, to Jimmy's point, they have real futures. And I think that's where we got to focus. Like, and if you're not trying to invest in anything right now, the best thing that you could do is probably make sure that you like pay some debt down. Like, you know, because maybe you're not going to get 20% return, 100% return, 50% return right now. But if you have a credit card that's 19.5% APY, well, if you pay that down, you're going to get 19% return, because that dollar is a dollar that you would not gain interest on and have to pay down later. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of people separate financial literacy from crypto, and that's like a big issue to begin with. But like, just be smart with your money. Don't put it all in one asset per se, and manage your expenditures to the point where like you don't ever become a forced seller.
I mean, man, it's crazy because everything that you're talking about, like we said, it's happening in the stock market, it's happening in crypto, and it's happening in NFTs. And I mean, you know, that's my realm. And man, it's a wild day today. And we've been having this conversation for a while with guests on the podcast between us three, as far as like, and I said this to somebody, you know, we're so focused on getting past Web 2 and into Web 3, but where's the innovation? You know, we're missing I feel like, and I know there are teams that are out there doing stuff, but for example, today, Azuki's, which we actually talked about in the past podcast, because they were like, you know, up there with the Doodles, the Bored Apes, the Cool Cats, and man, these dudes came out. And so yesterday the founder came out with this article talking about how he was part of 2 other projects, and you know, all his learning experiences brought him back to Azuki. So basically the dude was just throwing stuff at the wall for 2 projects, and then they came out with Azuki and hit a home run, grand slam, won the World Series, right? Their floor was at like 25 ETH at one point, maybe more. But in that article, he basically told on himself and said that he rugged 2 communities, right? Because that's what he did. And, you know, he's trying to beat around the bush. He's trying to justify it. And it's like, you took people's money and you didn't do anything with it. You basically disappeared. And I didn't know this about the Azuki community, but they're the founding team, they're anonymous. Up until this day, they were an anonymous team, and they still kind of are, because they only know a name that they go by. You don't even know if that's their real name. And we were talking to Carlos in the last podcast episode about you know, founders being anonymous, and I think I'm past that. Like, I'm done with that. Like, that's got to be done. I don't mind if you're anonymous, you know, just being in the space, but you know, the more I thought about it, because there's people all day defending them, and I'm like, are you people really here for the innovation in the space, or are you here to make money? That's fine. But when you see people doing stuff that you know is shady and wrong, don't try and turn a blind eye because it's pumping your bags. And I saw a lot. But I know it's a thing.
It's that cope. Because think about it. If everybody agrees, and yo, I'm gonna say I'm on your side on this, but if everybody in the market is like, yeah, you know what, Azuki is run by some shady people, and I don't want to support them anymore, Yo, you know, crypto is clicked up. Like people run in packs. So all it takes is for that right person .eth to say, yo, I'm selling all my Azukis and here's why. First of thread. You know what I'm saying?
Listen,
And then it's a
Andrew,
wrap.
listen, Andrew Wang, who's known for holding some of the biggest spaces in the NFT space on Twitter.
You mean the politician?
No, I don't
Oh,
know.
that's Andrew Yang. My bad.
Yeah, Wang. This is Wang.
My
Yo,
bad.
this dude had a Twitter space today with the founder of Azuki. 14,000 people were in there.
And that's where he dropped his dirty secrets.
So that's
where
where
he was trying to
like,
clear the
this
air.
was his this was his chance to clear the air, and he didn't do any of that.
I said no accountability.
He basically was beating around the bush and then was talking about plans that he has for Azuki. And a lot of people had a sour taste about that because they're like, yo, this guy didn't even like admit to really doing anything wrong. And you gave him a platform with 14,000 people that may not have heard of Azuki, right? But the market is saying otherwise. The Azuki floor price is at 9 ETH right now.
Down from 25?
Down, no. So like, you know, we're in a bear market. I think it was around 15 ETH yesterday. The Beans collection was at 7. It's at 1.6 ETH. Wow. So people aren't playing around about this, but there are people still buying because my bags, you know what I mean?
Right. But yo, you know what? That's the cool thing about crypto in general is that one is community driven and like not in like the fluffy kind of way, meaning that people vote with their dollars for what they want. And so if say for example, like some negative news comes out about a project, like what you're explaining, the people within that community, they can pick up and leave that community by voting with their dollars to say that, yo, I used to hold this of value, but now I'm fire sailing this because I don't want to be a part of it. And then it has a material impact on the rest of the community. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the way that everything is financially connected, it actually empowers people to have more of an influence on the communities they're a part of.
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny, just as I say that, the floor went up to like 10 ETH. So like people are still buying this thing, but it's crazy to me because like this dude went as far as acting like a woman in one of his past projects. He was pretending it was a female-led project.
That's shady, fam. Because you know that's just like a money grab thing. Like I showed you World of Women, and we don't all know necessarily, but World of Women was one of the most popular NFT projects of 2021 because there was like female celebrities who were endorsing it.
Yeah.
And there wasn't really a strong voice of females in the NFT space, in finance, in crypto in general. So that was like a real breakthrough. And I thought they started a wave, and obviously people are now trying to take advantage of it.
Yeah. I'm not saying like it's I think it's still it's obviously important that women have a space where they feel comfortable and
100.
But then it started becoming like a marketing tactic.
It was it was a wave that people were taking advantage of.
Yeah.
It's like ESG.
Yeah. It was the same thing with black owned projects and stuff like that. And like it was cool at the time. And then now it's kind of like, well, we don't, that's not a thing anymore.
Right.
So there was also that going on with the Azuki project. So it's gonna be interesting to kind of follow that and see what happens. I really think that people are just gonna keep buying. Because like I said, they want to make money, but it actually started a thought process that I had, and I kind of wanted to like say, like, see what you guys thought. Like,
go off.
Every day, every week, there's something new happening in the NFT space, right? And we talk about this idea of centralization versus decentralization. We need to go to a decentralized world, and NFTs and Web3 is going to lead the way, blah, 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 blah. And from the time that this concept has been talked about, I questioned how attainable it actually is, because you can't even get 10 people on a call without them going back and forth and arguing, or, can't work together. So how are we going to do that with a a whole world. You know what I mean? That's something that I thought about. And then we see these big projects like Azuki that are led by people that nobody knows, and people are putting their money in, and they can easily dip and just take all their money. Are we not leaving this space vulnerable to like these big brands coming in that people say that they don't want, that they know aren't going to do these things because they come from a web 2 space where you have to answer to somebody? You know what I mean? I feel like we're leaving the NFT space, the web 3 space, vulnerable to people that we're trying to get away from. And I don't know if I'm like making that up or if that like kind of makes sense.
Well, some things are not meant to be decentralized. First of all,
100%.
I think there's a time and a place for it. Like the coordination of large groups of people has, in like over centuries and like centuries of time, has evolved to where we have elected people, not necessarily in politics, but even in like back in the tribal days, there was people who were like, yo, we're going to rely on you because we trust your judgment to do these certain things because it's more efficient. And also not everybody has the equal skill set and experience to lead. But I think that, for example, if you're running a, let's say, student council or like a PTA, parent teacher association committee or something like that, or if you're running like, I don't know, like neighborhood watch, I think on a smaller scale, like there's room for these kinds of decentralized organizations for specific applications in our society, right? Like everybody in the neighborhood should be able to vote on if they want to have a street festival or not, And I think maybe that's like very small scale and it is or is not related to crypto, but like I'm just trying to draw the line of like certain things are going to work with group coordination because the stakes are lower. And if people make a bad decision, it's not going to affect people's wealth. It's not going to affect people's livelihood, and it's not going to affect people's quality of life. Whereas when we get to the point where it's millions and billions and potentially one day trillions of dollars on the line, I think that's going to be a whole different animal just because of what's at stake. And so people are going to have all different kinds of incentives to manipulate that and to have outside parties come in and game the system. Like there's going to be big corporations involved in the DeFi space, especially, but in NFTs and anywhere where there's a profit to take or a market to create where you can take a vig in the middle. I think that's inevitable, Yeah. So we kind of just got to use the technology to build our own stuff, knowing that it's just a matter of time for the big dogs come.
Yeah. And like to piggyback off your analogy, like I like kind of like what you said, like there's spaces for like decentralized organizations and everybody can have a vote and it'll count. Like if we use blockchain technology, NFTs to make sure that, people's vote is heard, like I think that's going to work on a small scale. Maybe it could even work on a larger scale for like, secured elections or something like that. Like, even Canada just had a little report about some people doing some fraudulent stuff in Alberta. Like maybe we can use blockchain technology to prevent those type of things. But then I don't want the average person voting on foreign affairs, the relationship between Canada and the United States in terms of trade. Like, I don't think I need to vote on that. I don't understand that. So my vote wouldn't be needed in that. That's why we elect officials who are more educated than us and are in that spirit. And that's where centralized power needs to be. And I think for the world to work effectively, we need centralized power. We need somebody to say, hey, like, up here is where decisions are made and you guys have to follow in line to keep civility. But then there are things that we've talked about on this channel where we absolutely need decentralization. Personally, for me, I don't care about decentralization for NFTs. Like if I have to buy my NFT from a centralized place just because I want to hold on to a piece of art, that's sold by a centralized organization, that's fine. Let's say I want to get like an NBA NFT and it's, you know, it's centralized around the NFT NBA. But if I want to get a new School Degen NFT, and I want that to be decentralized because that's what the platform, that's what the company, the community is talking about. So I wouldn't want like maybe Instagram coming in and be like, yo, we're about to buy these guys out for $1 billion. I hope, you know, New School DJ says, nah, we're not about that right now. We're building something crazy, right? But I say all that to say like when we talk about finance, like when we talk about Bitcoin, when we talk about having sovereign power over things that we actually need to survive on a daily basis, I definitely 100% believe that should be decentralized. I'm still wrapping around that concept that Courtney was talking about of having like mining Bitcoin in our houses and being detached from the power grid and selling power back to the grid. Like that
Reach now. Come
that
on
concept
now.
still is in my head. I'm like, yo, how would that work? How how does that give power back to consumers and back to, you know, the regular population? Because clearly like the system that we have now is not working with everything being centralized around banks, government, and
Yes.
mega corporations. So I do believe, to your point, JB, that like we do need decentralization in some areas, and some of the areas that affect us directly in terms of our ability to survive and our ability to keep thriving as human beings. But not everything needs to be decentralized.
Yo,
And
the money needs to be decentralized.
yes, that's what I agree with. I never felt like I don't trust other human beings to like run the world like without rules. You know what I mean? I don't trust other human beings to make rules for this new world that we're possibly going to live in. Like, I mean, that happens with the government and it's going to happen in this space. Like,
I don't barely trust them either.
I don't. I
just want
don't.
to put that out there.
I don't, but I mean, they're making the rules and we have to follow them. So that's what sucks about it. But I think in this space, especially the people that are talking about making the rules, and half of them aren't as big or influential as they think they are, but these dudes are the ones that are like leading people to the slaughterhouse. And that's basically what I don't like. Because I feel like if you make a mistake, you know, first time, okay, like correct it. Second time, it's like, okay, like, are you learning? Third time is like, yo, like you obviously don't want to change. You know what you're doing at this point. And that's been happening a lot and it's been impacting people. And I don't think that NFTs are the only way that people are going to get into Web3. I really don't. But I think that for right now, it is a major tool. And the current state of the market of like just the space, I don't really like where it's at. And I'm not saying that like I'm out or anything, but I think, you know, when you're entering it, that investing in teams, that is like the number one thing that you need to pay attention to, because those teams are the ones that are going to put your money to work. Basically, you're investing in brands, you're investing in businesses. And if you don't even know the people or have an idea of who they are, like you're going to run into something like Azuki's. Like what if Azuki's tanked and everybody and people were just done? And I also feel like kind of how Courtney talks about, like, you need to have an exit strategy. Like everybody's looking for the next board date floor sitting at 100 ETH. I mean, the chances of that happening are super low. But like if you have a chance to make life-changing money or to help your family or to pay off debts, student loans, whatever it may be, man, sell that JPEG. You know what I mean? Like sell it, because you know, when things come out like this or whatever, the market goes down and you're stuck like, oh, you know, my bags are hurting, whatever, you trying to be a degen, you had your chance.
Yeah, nothing goes up forever, man.
Nothing.
Like, nothing goes up forever. You might have an edge in the early market because you came out early, you had a good product, but yo, let Netflix be an example for you, yo. You could still lose a huge market share if you mess up the bag. So yeah, listen to JB when he says have an exit plan, yo.
Yeah, the money needs to be decentralized. Think about it. The what we're experiencing right now in the financial markets is really what and this is my opinion, is really what should have happened during the pandemic. The economy slowing down, people not being able to afford things, the prices of things would be collapsing because nobody would be buying. The economy would slow down. Less people would be working because less businesses would be making money. Like, and that's why they put so much money into the system. That's why they dropped the interest rates so that you could borrow more money and it would cost less. And they stimulated the economy. And we saw for 2 years the assets going through the roof, people seeing their net worth inflate. And that was all a repercussion of the way that they chose to, implement their monetary and fiscal strategy. Monetary strategy is interest rates and money supply. Fiscal strategy is taxes and public spending. And so the combination of those four elements together is how the government and the central banks work together to basically massage the economy, right? But that stuff can't be stimulated artificially forever. And what we're experiencing now is the wind is coming out of the sails, because when you do that, you're giving people too much money, meaning if I have a lot of money, right? Or if I have a lot of anything and it's easier to get, it's not as valuable. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's summer break and you're in high school and you have all the time in the world, you'll sit on the couch and do nothing because you have all the time in the world. If it's training camp and you are doing football from 7 a.m. to 9 o'clock at night and you get a half an hour, you are doing something with the half an hour. You're eating, you're showering, you're sleeping, you're reading your playbook, because time is scarce and it's more valuable. Same thing with money. When money is abundant, it's easy to get, it's worth less. So it takes more of the same dollars to pay for something. So the prices go up. The prices of assets also go up, right? And then if they go up too high, the people who don't own, they have to pay what they can't pay, and it becomes painful for the people at the bottom. And so the government, they take these monetary and fiscal policy to balance these things back out because the prices are too high, inflation. So what we're experiencing now is basically we just kicked the can down the road for 2 years. And now they have to take the air out the sails and bring things back down to earth. And that's why you have 717 stocks trading at or below or at or near their 52-week low. You know what I'm saying? Because this had to happen. So if you have a money supply that is programmatic, or at least the collateral behind the money is something that can't be inflated, then you're going to keep the people who run the show a little bit more in check because they can't artificially prop up these economies. And I think you'll have a dampening of these booms and busts. It would suck still. Like, I'm not saying that there wouldn't be recessions and there wouldn't, like, it would still suck, but I'm saying it wouldn't be, the peaks wouldn't be as high and the lows wouldn't be as low because it would be more normalized, in my opinion. And what do I know?
A lot.
A lot more than I do. Yo, I got a question for you, JB, as we start wrapping things up. What you said earlier made me think about something. I know a lot of times we look at NFTs as just JPEGs, at least from the outside looking in, but if you're inside, NFTs are way more than that. Do you believe, or this is a hypothetical, but if every JPEG were to go to zero, does that Courtney's face, does that spell the doom for cryptocurrency?
Not even close. First of all, crypto. Okay.
Talk to them. I know. I want to just. Which angle are you going right now? Which angle are you going?
I'm saying the only crypto that I truly believe in the long run, obviously, is because of Courtney, is Bitcoin, right?
Bitcoin is not crypto, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, but he's talking about. Okay.
I'm playing with you.
When it comes to actual money, like if we're talking about decentralized money, is that what you're referring to? Are you talking about like the end of like crypto outside of like Bitcoin?
Yeah, maybe let's do that. Crypto outside of
like the whole Web3 idea, all that stuff.
Like Web3, Ethereum, Polygon, all that stuff. Nah. Does that go to zero? No,
I don't think so. And my reasoning is because, and that is also something we've been talking about having your NFT associated with something that if JPEGs went to zero and JPEGs were not a thing anymore, you're still adding value to people's lives, right? Are you creating a game? Are you creating are you creating a platform? Are you, doing like DeFi banking or some sort of something that's innovative? And that's what I came back to, was the innovation, right? That's how I'm looking at it as far as my investment strategy with NFTs. And this is not financial advice. The team, what are they building? And then obviously, well, it's not obvious, but the community, because the community makes these things. If no one cared about Michael Jordan, Jordans wouldn't be a thing. On top of him being the greatest player of all time. But you know what I mean? Like when it comes to Bored Apes, why is their community so strong? Like the team delivered something, but also the community is so strong and they believe in it. And then they had celebrities come in and they became the most popular brand in NFTs, right? So moving forward, I'm looking at it as innovation. Honestly, I rarely care about what the NFT actually looks like. It's what is behind it. Because at the end of the day, then to me personally, it's just an art piece. And I'm really not an art collector. And I think that's what initially it was it gave artists an opportunity to get their art bought, and then they can earn royalties on it, et cetera, et cetera. But now this whole, oh, I buy it because I like the art, that's BS. And that's for people that have been here from the jump and have had an opportunity to make a bag and spend it on whatever they want. And this whole thing, invest in what you like. Hell no. Because half the time when you invest in what you like in this space, it goes to zero. So you have to be strategic with what you're putting your money into.
Yo, investing in is binary. You're doing it to make money. If I go to what do they call that place? HomeSense. If I go to HomeSense to buy a vase, that's when I buy what I like.
Yeah.
When I open up Questrade or I open up Coinbase, I'm not buying what I like. I'm trying to make money. It's like people romanticize it because it sounds good, but don't get it twisted, man. Like these things have made mainstream attention because they're financialized, not because the art is good. In some cases, the art is good. Like Azuki's particularly look cool, but like this is about money. And at the end of the day, anyone who says anything different is fooling themselves or telling a lie or virtue signaling. But this is about money and the idea that people who never had could have.
Balancing, and everybody has the opportunity to possibly hit big and change their lives. I think that's like the most appealing thing about the space right now. You can mint
for most people,
you can mint the right project and you can come up.
Absolutely. But if you pick the wrong animal out the zoo, you're still going to work on Monday.
Exactly. You feel me? If you picked a dolphin and instead of an ape, you're not happy with what you minted.
Right. But yo, let me say this too then. If you look at I remember I pulled up that chart of Bitcoin. You look at, matter of fact, I don't know if I still have it to share it one last time because it will just illustrate this point pretty well. I'll close this off. Okay. Close this. Boom, boom, boom. I'm going to show all time. Okay. On this chart, you got a lot of peaks and valleys. Okay. It comes back and it settles at these levels every once in a while. And these bottoms are put in by the people who truly are there for the long term. Because when it gets to the bottom and there's no one left to sell, these are the people who are sticking around for the long term, who are buying at this point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The people who are at the top, from the top down to that point, that is that transfer of weak hands to strong hands that Will Clemente talks about. From the peak down to the bottom of that trough, that's the transfer from weak hands to strong hands, feeding the whales, feeding the whales. You see what I'm saying? So like the first part of that entire structure is the people who are there for the technology, for the revolution, for the change, for the sovereignty, for, you know, giving the power back to the individual. And then the momentum catches mainstream attention, and the people who are trying to get rich fast bring it to that next point. And then something bad happens, and the people who are trying to get rich fast, they borrowed their conviction from someone else and they sell it back to the people who are their actual builders. And then that cycle repeats.
Yep.
So the pendulum always swings the other way. I think it's just important to understand that like fundamentals don't change. The underlying assets, the protocols, they don't change. If they were garbage before, but they just got a lot of hype, they're still garbage. And if they were revolutionary before and no one heard of them, and then all of a sudden they're on the front page of newspaper, they're still revolutionary. They just might be propped up past where they're supposed to be at this level of maturity. And so when they fall back down to earth, don't be shocked. It's just getting back to what their actual baseline is. Man, 2 years ago, Bitcoin was 10K. You know what I'm saying? And so when we hit 30 the first time, everybody was like, mind blown. And now we hit 30K and people are crying. So just keep it in perspective. You know what I'm saying?
Man, bro. It's crazy the amount of tweets I saw 2 years ago. We're going to 100K. We're going to 100K. Now I don't see none of that. Guys are just praying it stays at 30K. But man, yo, honestly, Courtney, you dropped some gems right there. JB got us all philosophically deep into the decentralized versus centralized. We were about to start having a church meeting on decentralization, yo. But man, you know, we hit that 1 hour mark. You know what I'm saying? So, any last thoughts? Any last gems?
Don't feed the whales. And if you're feeling emotional about it, look, write it down, take a picture, take a screenshot, take all of the apps off your phone to check your prices. Literally, Yahoo Finance, Coinbase, all of those, take them, CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, take them off of your phone, take a walk. And then once you do get some new bread, yo, you don't have to spend it all in one spot, yo. This thing is about longevity, so just take time. That's it.
For me, if your conviction is strong, whether it's in crypto, NFTs, stocks, this isn't phasing you. You know, like if you're invested in what you believe in, like I said before, just ride the wave and don't let this, you know, moment in time impact you. Like Courtney said, your mental health, it's not worth it. Go outside, touch grass, as people say. The weather's getting nicer. So enjoy it.
Yeah, and I'll end off by just saying, you know, my wife was telling me somebody was trying to tell somebody to buy Shiba at this time. Listen, I know a lot of us are in echo chambers with other people who don't know that much about the crypto space, or maybe you follow some influencers on Twitter and they're telling you buy XYZ. I think the best thing that you could do is actually jump into a community of more minds with more different thoughts and get into that community and bounce ideas. So for example, in New School Degen, we have a Discord where there are more than 100 people with different thoughts, different ideas that are talking about crypto every single day. Join up on there. Yo, I'm scared. I'm about to panic sell. Yo, at Courtney, at JB, at anybody in the group, and they will talk you down from that ledge. You know what I'm saying? They'll let you know, like, it's not that deep yet. And then we can bounce ideas and we can support each other, because I think one of the biggest things is that there are people who are on their own in this journey. They're trying to do their own research, and their own research is a Twitter feed. And sometimes that Twitter feed has a bunch of other people with their own thoughts, and they're telling you to not buy BTC. They're telling you buy, what's that other one that you always talk about?
Bitcoin Satoshi's Vision.
Yeah, they're telling
BSV.
you buy BSV. You don't want to be following those guys. You want to have people who actually have conversations and are going to share some information, powerful information. And so we do that right here live every Tuesday. That like button, subscribe, follow us to the Discord, follow Courtney on the Twitter. He's dropping threads. Follow JB on Twitter. He has the alpha on every NFT possible, I'm pretty sure. And that's like impossible. So yeah, if you guys want more anything about gaming content, follow me over on Twitter. I think that's pretty much it.
That's it. Wrap
Yes,
that
sir.
thing up.
We'll see.
Peace out.
Actually, bro. Peace.